Hi, welcome back to Burbex, Bryn's Urban Exploration. We are back again in that big abandoned school that we were in last week where I found the skull. Now, I get a lot of comments from my viewers sometimes that I'm an idiot or I'm uneducated or I'm disrespectful. A lot of the time when I did the suicide forest videos, I was called disrespectful. Or when I uncover these places where people have died, people call me disrespectful. That has kind of stuck in my mind a little bit recently, especially after the last video where I found human remains in this school. These human remains were part of an anatomy set. You've probably seen a lot of my videos where I talk about funerals and graveyards and cemeteries, so I've picked up a fair amount of information, and I actually went out and I bought some materials today so that we can try to attempt to do a proper Chinese funeral so that these deceased people can rest in peace so that their ghosts don't roam this school forever. Let's go. So the first thing we're going to have to do is start collecting the remains, and this skull here just has a number. What number does it say? 41194, and it doesn't have a name on it. It's got no name on it, so, but we can still collect that. Let's put that in this box here. These other remains here, they have a name on them, and it actually says Hui Gan Qiang. I'm not sure if that's the name of the person who it was, or whether that is the name of the company. But I'm going to try and collect all these remains, and you can see there's quite a lot. I bought hand sanitizer as well. As I'm collecting these remains, I'll just give you a few little details about, like Chinese beliefs. One Chinese belief is that actually your remains should be returned to your hometown, otherwise you'll be like a ghost who just roams around the countryside trying to get home. We don't know where these came from, so we're going to have to give them a good burial. There's some weird music playing just now. It actually scared the life out of me. That was strange. So we're looking around for a place to actually bury these bodies. The garden behind the school is actually really nice. The soil is quite loose. There's a pond. Now the pond is very important because in Chinese burials they believe that being near water and also around mountains is important. We're kind of surrounded by buildings right now, and there is this beautiful pond in the middle which I showed you last week with all the tadpoles. So I think actually like the feng shui, the geomancy of this place is actually ideal for burials. The only problem is, I wonder if the security guards are going to find the remains of these and absolutely freak out. I probably would if I saw it. I'm digging a very shallow grave for the remains. Chinese grave shouldn't be too deep. There's kind of a burial mound on top of it. I guess traditionally that would be an indicator of where the bodies were buried so that Chinese people wouldn't step on it. I've been digging for a while. The ground here is super hard. I think if the security guards catch me doing this, they might think like I'm a murderer or something, disposing of the remains. But I think I'm doing a pretty good job. Take a look. The ground here is all like clay. We're right next to the river. Alright, let's take the skull. That's the skull. Remember, skull was 41194. Let's put that in the hole. Put that in there nice and deep. So in China they actually believe it's very important to bury the whole body together, like the whole skeleton. I could only find the skull of this one, so I'm just going to bury that on its own, then bury the other remains in a separate hole. So I've got to fill this one in. Well, that's the first burial mound done. It's not great looking, it's not bad. I covered it up with like bamboo leaves and stuff so they can decompose into a nice mound. I'm going to do the second burial now. It's going to take a little while to dig up that because there's a lot more bones. So let's get into that. So the second set of remains I've actually buried under these bamboo trees in this bamboo grove. I didn't realise that grave digging was such hard work. It's exhausting, especially when you haven't got the right tools for it. But I've made like a shallow grave. I've made a shallow grave just here, and I'm going to fill that in. You can see that I've covered it up with rocks now, and now I'm going to cover it over with like bamboo leaves and everything. That should decompose nicely, and then all the worms and things can help the remains decompose too. Now that the graves are finished, what I've got to do now is kind of do a ceremony around it, and this is actually quite complicated, right? For this ceremony we need the following things. We need a white candle. You can see I've just got like a regular white tea candle here. We need a bag of salt. I'm going to explain the salt later. We need some joss sticks. I've got a whole bunch of joss sticks. We only need 3 of these joss sticks for this ceremony. We need some joss paper. This is just like yellow paper. Traditionally it was made from rice paper, but I guess it could be any kind of yellow paper. You can think about like this as a sandwich, right? This is kind of the protective layer that helps tributes get to the other side, to the other world. We've also got some Josh money in dollars, renminbi. You can see there's actually a credit card here as well that they can use on the other side. It says Hell Bank Corporation. There's some like dollars there, renminbi as well. Those will be like a tribute to the ancestor. And finally as well, and this one is like an optional touch, a whole bunch of these, and these are like silver ingots. These are called taels, T-A-E-L. These are silver taels. You can get gold ones as well, but that's for more elaborate ceremonies, and this will be burned as well. The first step that we're going to do is actually light the candle, right? The white candle that you can see here, this actually represents the soul, right? So the first step is we're going to put it at the head of the grave, which is a bit difficult because with a skull there's no head and tail, there's only a head, so I guess it can go anywhere. We're going to put it at one side of the grave and light it. That's step 1. Let's go. The next step is that we take 3 of these joss sticks, right? And we've got to light up these joss sticks. And we light those joss sticks off the white candle. This next stage might be a little bit tricky to see, but I got to kowtow to the grave 3 times. You hold them out like this, and you're supposed to kowtow 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Just like that. And then the joss sticks go in front of the candle like that. Interestingly, in China, you're not supposed to put your 2 chopsticks upright in a bowl of rice because that represents like burial joss sticks, so that would actually give you bad luck. That means somebody's going to die. It's very bad manners. Right, the next stage is that we have to make a perimeter with salt. What we're going to do after that is actually make tributes. We make the perimeter of salt, and that means that once the tributes get to the other side, get to heaven or hell, that none of the other ghosts, none of the other spirits are going to come and steal that stuff because they won't be able to get past the border of salt, the perimeter of salt. So let's do that next. now that we had the perimeter of salt, we can actually start giving tributes. And the first step to do is you put the yellow Josh paper down. Now the yellow Josh paper is like the bread in a sandwich. It, it kind of sandwiches together the tributes, but it also helps them to burn. So you see we're making like a nice sandwich here, and then we're going to put another layer on top of that, and then we can put some of this hell money in there too. This guy's going to be super rich in the afterlife. Got to spread it out a bit so it burns nicely, like that. Make another sandwich like that. Put some more hell money in there. It's going to be like Bill Gates in the afterlife. Put some more silver in there. And again, cover it up. Remember that all tributes must be completely covered up. Otherwise they're not going to get to the other side. Now, I'm going to take one of these sheets of joss paper and I'm just going to light it. Make sure there's a good flame going, and then just light the corners of the others. The other point is that when that little white candle burns out, or like the flame has gone out, that means that the person has moved over to the other side, to the other world. All tributes must be burned completely, otherwise they're not going to pass on. The tributes, when they burn, they go up through the smoke and that carries them to heaven or the afterlife. This one, I think, needs a little bit more encouragement. At this point as well, you can say like small prayers or just like little messages to the person who's going to pass away. You can keep these in your heart. You don't have to say these out loud. Well, now that we've completed the first burial, and that was with the skull, let's crack on with the second burial. If you're the children of that person or the friends, close friends, then you should wear black. But if you're the grandchildren or from the wife's family, like the other side of the family, then you wear dark blue. I didn't have anything dark blue, so I just wore black today. I thought that would be most respectful. Well, this guy's going to have lots of silver. This guy's getting lots of silver. This stuff doesn't burn so easily. I think I did a better job on the second one. Well, we're back by the skull grave, and you can see that this candle has burned out now, which means that this soul has passed on to the other side.